Here comes a story about a boy with bullet immunity, super speed, super strength.
Superpowers, dude? I don't even know how to pee in this thing.
Billy, you're making things so hard right now, Billy. Let's try this again with flight. This is gonna be difficult.
Your finest beer, please. That tastes like actual vomit.
This, buying alcohol for minors, but you're only 12, Billy. F it. I quit. This job's too hard. Roll the intro.
Hello? Is anybody here?
Alright, hey guys and gals, this is Hollywood Shooter Rutledge and
Salminator.
we're doing our first Elderly Nerd Crew reviews movies. And so this week we're going to do, well, I don't know if it's going to be a weekly thing or a monthly, but I know we're going to do it twice this month because we're going to do Avengers Endgame later, but this week we're going to do Shazam. I love the story of this. I love the whole orphan, the guy, he couldn't find a place, and I mean, like, and he done well doing the backstory, phasing in and out. And this little kid, he was always searching for something. He was searching for his mother, and searching for that sense of family, and he finally finds it at the end of the movie. It's great. I mean, love the story. And what else would you like to touch on in this movie? Going to,
Well, I really love how they, like, especially right there at the end where they're battling the seven sins and everything. I really like how I was expecting, as I know you was, for him to find his pure of heart or whatever, and then all of a sudden he becomes, he opens his ultimate power and he's able to do it single-handedly by himself. But I actually liked it when they took all of his foster brothers and sisters and they placed their hands on there and they gained the power as well.
I think they got a name for them in the comics too, because I'm not too familiar with the Shazam. I've watched a couple of the cartoons and stuff. Like there was one where they had a bunch of cartoons like of Batman, Superman, and they had a Shazam segment on it, and it was pretty cool, where he fought Black Adam, who's probably coming later. But yeah, I thought it was great. We was thinking that's where he got his, and I don't think that he officially went by Shazam, because weren't they still calling him the Red Cyclone at the end of the movie?
Right there, it seemed like they still hadn't really settled on the name yet.
So that leaves it even more origin in the next story. I think they set that up well. I think the kids were awesome. They all had great different personalities. Freddie Freeman, not the Braves player, but the comic character, he was really, really good. He played Richie in It. I found that out today. Really good actor there, that little guy. And all the little cameos with the DC characters. I mean, the Batarang, the Bullet, Superman. It was all great. It's like, well done movie.
Yeah, those were some very, very, very entertaining credits with the animated little short films and Shazam pretty much being put over Batman and Superman, and he gets the girl Wonder Woman and all that. Was pretty good.
Yeah, that was cool. The mid-credit scene and the post-credit scene did their job. It seems like the mid-credit scene set up the next movie, and the post-credit scene just was for shits and giggles, kind of like Deadpool in the first one when he come and did like the Ferris Bueller thing. They just making fun of Aquaman.
And touching on what was real exciting was, back to what I was talking about when they first showed the Rock of Eternity, and they show the little worm, the caterpillar, sitting in the hourglass jar. And then later on, after the seven sins break out of the Rock of Eternity and everything and wreak havoc, then they show later on that the worm's missing and the glass has been broken. And then you go into the extra credit scene later, and then for those of you that noticed when the caterpillar or the worm was in the jar, you probably already noticed that he had the little voice box, wore like a necklace around his neck anyway. And for those of you who are familiar with the comics, then you would know that was Mr. Mind, who's this worm who, like 2 or 3 inches in height, but he's from Venus, so they refer to him as a Venusian worm. And what happened is I can't remember what satellite Earth sent, but in the 80s, we sent a satellite to Venus to help check, survey it, to find out more information about Venus. Well, the storyline, as it was written later on in the 80s in DC Comics, is he came back with that, stowed away off of Venus, and came back on that probe. And for those of you that are not familiar with him, he's very important, especially the comics, because he was in, like, I believe it was like Captain Marvel issue number 22, back when Shazam was still referred to as Captain Marvel, with Fawcett Comics. And he was very important because he was the first villain to really start like a league of villains, because if you remember back before what was it called, the evil monsters of society or something like that, I could be wrong, but it was something close to that Mr. Mind started. And before that, if you was going to have villains in a comic, you usually had just a bunch of villains that would be thrown together for one issue. But this was the first time that villains were brought together and they appeared regularly as allies on issue after issue. So, and Mr. Mind, I mean, like I said, that worm, take him serious, because I'm hoping what they go with later on in the DCEU is that Mr. Mind ends up teaming with Dr. Savannah. And what they end up trying to do is they end up trying to find some way that there's all these other Venusian worms, and they try to help stage a large-scale Venusian worm invasion. Yeah, and so I'm hoping that maybe like they go to that scale, because I would like to see that.
And this guy has some Charles Xavier type mind powers. He can manipulate your mind just like that.
Yes, he has very strong telepathic abilities, telekinesis. Can spin super strong silt at light speeds. He also has an evolved form that he can use, which in his evolved form he can actually eat up like space time, and even like maybe do some like Galactus like shit and universes and stuff. So he's very powerful and formidable, especially when he gets into his evolved form. So I'm very excited for Mr. Mind.
And well, back to the movie review, I really did enjoy the way Shazam, we've seen how he grew as a superhero of this movie. Like started off just taking selfies or helping people for money. By the end, he really was doing some pretty heroic shit. So, I mean, it was a good movie.
Oh, it was a fantastic movie.
And well, since
touching, hilarious, good action, great casting. I mean, I was
even the adults that played the kids, and whoever that fucking Santa Claus was, you could deserve an Oscar.
Oh, dude, yeah, the Santa Claus guy was so like, funny, especially right there at the end of the movie. That was.
It's like I'm bleeping tired of all this bleeping bullshit. Yeah, and it was just hilarious. I'm not gonna bleeping take it anymore. It was hilarious. But since Big E's not here, he's having his problems. He was gonna do a reaction video later. And since we're basing this all on which is the better movie, Shazam or Aquaman, he feels that Aquaman is better. So we're going to touch on why we feel this movie's better than Aquaman. Now, look, I'm going to start it off here. And I'm going to tell you, I like both stories. They're similar in story, actually, if you think about it, because you got both heroes are abandoned by their mother. They go and search for family or whatever. They end up finding a new family or just being reborn again. I just like in Aquaman, Nicole Kidman, Atlanta, she didn't have a choice. So you're more sympathetic with that character, which kind of maybe takes your less sympathy off of Aquaman because he's such a hard ass about it. This one, we find out the mother, she just didn't want Billy Batson anymore, so it makes us as viewers more sympathetic with Billy in his search for family. And so I just really enjoyed the story, the underlying tones of an orphan just trying to find his way. I mean, the action, both of them are great action. Both of them have horror elements, darkness in them. Both are funny protagonists in the thing. And I just feel like this movie right here is just, I don't know, it balanced the light and the darkness a little bit better than Aquaman. The tone was a little bit, they were both slow in some points, but I just felt like the pace was just a little tad bit better in Shazam. I don't know.
Well, and for me, and I really loved Aquaman. Aquaman for me was a great movie. But what makes this one better for me is Aquaman. I was more entertained than anything else, and let me explain what I mean by that. Like the action and the badassery of Aquaman, so to speak, and I really love the feeling that I got when Aquaman at the end and finally broke his father, which his brother was wielding his father's trident, and everybody that was against him all of a sudden realized that we now have the one king, we have to stand with him. That was cool. But I felt like when I watched Shazam, I got more emotion than just that. I felt like Shooter touched on. I felt bad for Billy Bats, but then I realized that he was able to overcome all these obstacles that was thrown in his way, and was able to find him a family and love and respect that family. Because at first he was not willing to accept them, and he was very jaded with the whole foster care system and everything. And then so you get that seriousness out of it. You get that dark element out of it, especially with the villain. And then you get the comedy out of it, which Aquaman had its funny moments. But as far as like all these different levels of emotion that you feel, Shazam had a lot more layers to it.
Yeah.
And at the same time was able to do that and still pull off the same kind of entertainment value that I got out of Aquaman. So that's just why I feel like Shazam's is a much better and well-made movie.
And another reason I like Shazam better, we had for the most part, we had a singular enemy. I know we had the 7 deadly sins, but they all went through
Dr. Savannah.
Yeah, they all went through Dr. Savannah. Aquaman had 2 enemies. You had his brother and you had Black Manta. So you had that split off. So that took your attention both ways. Like you couldn't really get a totally 100% emotionally invested in one villain because you thought, where's this other one at? So my attention was kind of split off on both of them, which they both were great villains in Aquaman. The one villain thing made it stand out just a little bit more in my mind too. But I mean, both are great movies. Both are 10 out of 10 stars for me. Both what DC should do. Anything else you'd like to add about Shazam?
That's it. Just a great movie. Go see it. Go see it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it.
And for those of you people that are out there, kind of like my girlfriend, it's DC, and DC movies aren't as good as the MCU movies and blah blah blah. Don't fall into that. These last 2 movies, because I loved Batman vs Superman. I know a lot of people crapped on that movie, and yes, Justice League was kind of a disappointment. And people want to always want to compare about how MCU's got it figured out. DC, y'all need to get this figured out on the same level as MCU. Well, I'm going to tell you, like DC. And this is coming from a guy that I love the MCU movies.
Marvel fanboy.
Yeah, but let's keep. But also my favorite superhero is Batman. Who's a DC character. But just check these movies out. If you haven't seen Aquaman, check it out, and check out Shazam. They are really good movies. DC to me has really brought their game up now. And remember, like the channel, subscribe. Like I said, there'll be more to come.
More movies like this.
We will be upgrading. But hey, got to start somewhere.
I want to ask a question too. If you want us to review older movies, let us know. If that's something you would like to see too, we would consider even doing that. Reviewing video games as well. But just stay tuned to the channel, like you said. Like, subscribe, all that jive. Turkey. But here is Ricky, Rockin' Ricky Rialto, telling you that Shooter is out.